Your team probably spent real time on your notification design, the badge color, the placement, the exact wording of the alert text. Then it came time to pick the sound, and someone just left whatever came with the framework. That default ding is playing on your product right now, and, uh, and on about 1,000 other products at the same time. Here is where the most product notification sound actually come from. Not from a brand decision, from whatever's shipped with the operating system, the app framework, or the plugin the engineering team happen to use. Which means the sound representing your product every single time it wants your user's attention is. Statistically, the exact same sound representing hundreds of the other products doing the exact same thing. It shows up in banking apps, project management tools, food delivery, fitness trackers, anything built on the same underlying framework, all making the identical small chime dozens of times a day across users' entire phone. Think about how many notification sounds a single person hears in one day. Message, calendar, reminders, delivery updates, a dozen different apps all completing for the same sulfur of attention, and a large share of them ringing with some version of the same 2 or 3 default tones. Your product's most frequent brand touchpoint, the one your user hears more than your logo, more than your tagline, more than any ad you have ever run, is often the one that nobody in the company ever actually decide on. Ask around your own team who picked it. Usually nobody can answer because usually nobody did. It arrived pre-selected, buried 3 menus deep and in a setting panel. And it has been running unquestioned since version 1. Here is why this problem is worse than simply being forgettable. When a sound is generic and repeated constantly, the brain does not just fail to remember it. It actively learns to filter it out. That is what notification fatigue actually is. A learned habit of ignoring a signal because it has stopped carrying useful information. And once your user has trained themselves to tune out that default thing, they are not just ignoring a sound, they are ignoring your product's attempt to bring them back in. This is not only a branding problem anymore. It is a functionality problem. A notification that gets ignored is a feature that quietly fails to do this job. Re-engagement campaigns underperform. Time-sensitive alerts get missed. Users churn slowly without ever consciously deciding they were unhappy because the product simply stopped reaching them. Product teams usually respond to this by redesigning the visual alert. Bigger badge, bigger color, a more urgent sounding label, all of that fights over the same 5% of attention that visual design was already competing for. Nobody touched the sound, even though the sound is the one channel that can reach a user before they have even looked at the screen. Now compare to what happens when a notification sound is actually designed on purpose. A short, distinct sonic signature can still be heard the same way a familiar voice cuts through a noisy room, not louder, just recognizable in a way generic tones can never be, because generic tones were built to be interchangeable, and recognizable sounds are built to be the opposite. It does not need to be loud or elaborate the work. It needs to be consistent enough that your search brain starts feeling it under this one matters. The opposite of what happens when it sounds identical to 40 other apps on the same lock screen. At Dimulti Music, we treat a notification sound as part of the same sonic system as your audio logo and your brand music, not a technical detail handed off to whoever is closest to the ship date. If you want to see how this fits into a full picture of where your brand's sound is consistent or scattered across every touch point, We walk through a complete audit method in another video, worth watching right after this one. So consider how often your product actually speaks to your user through sound. Probably more than your ads, more than your sales calls, more than your website most days. And right now, for most B2B products, that sound was never actually chosen. Pull out your phone, open your own product's notification next to 2 or 3 other apps you use daily. Listen to all of them back to back. Eyes closed if you can manage it. Ask yourself honestly, which one you would recognize with the screen turned away. Most teams find out the honest answer is none of them, including their own. If yours blends in completely, there is not a small detail buried in a settings menu. It is the most repeated things your brain says, and right now it is saying nothing at all. Let's give that sound a reason to be remembered, not just permission to keep interrupting.